Imagine the early 1990s. Japanese manufacturers are engaged in an automotive arms race. Nissan is creating the Skyline GTR packed with electronics, Honda is astonishing the world with the NSX, and Toyota is preparing the legendary Supra Mk4. In this company, Mazda decides to take a completely different path. Instead of a bigger engine, more power, and increasingly complex systems, it chooses lightness, perfect balance, and a technology that most manufacturers had long considered a dead end. Thus, the Mazda RX-7 FD was born. A car that today is one of the greatest automotive icons of the 1990s and probably the most desirable Wankel-powered car in history. Interestingly, when it first appeared on the market, it was not a sales success. Many customers chose more practical and easier-to-maintain machines. Only with time did the world understand how special this car truly was. Today, the RX-7 FD commands prices comparable to exotic European sports cars, and finding an original example borders on a miracle. This is the story of a car that lost the battle for the market, but won the battle for immortality. To understand the phenomenon of the FD, we need to go back to the 1960s. Mazda was the only manufacturer in the world that truly believed in the Wankel engine. The design, developed by German engineer Felix Wankel, was intended to replace conventional pistons with a rotating rotor. Most manufacturers quickly abandoned the concept due to durability and fuel consumption problems. Mazda, however, decided to keep fighting. The first result was the Cosmo Sport of 1967, which became a symbol of the brand's technological courage. Later came the RX-2, RX-3, and Savannah models. The culmination of this philosophy was the first RX-7 introduced in 1978. Lightweight, agile, and incredibly successful in motorsport, it gained enormous popularity, particularly in the United States. More than 470,000 examples of the first generation were built. Its successor, designated FC, was more technologically advanced and more powerful, but also heavier. Mazda knew, however, that its true masterpiece was still to come. The engineers wanted to create a car that combined the lightness of the first generation with the sophistication of the second. Thus began work on the FD3S project. By the late 1980s, Japan was experiencing an economic boom. Development budgets were growing, and manufacturers could pursue their most ambitious projects. Mazda gave its design team one objective: create the greatest sports car in the company's history. Designers were instructed to make the new car lower, wider, and more aerodynamic than its predecessor. Styling work was carried out by studios in Japan, Europe, and the United States. The final design was the work of a team led by Tom Matano and Wu Huang-chin. Their inspiration came from classic sports cars of the 1950s, especially the Jaguar E-Type, considered by many to be the most beautiful car in the world. The result was spectacular. The FD looked like an exotic Italian coupe rather than a mass-produced Japanese car. Its long hood, muscular fenders, pop-up headlights, and perfectly flowing lines ensure that it still looks fresh today. Many enthusiasts consider the RX-7 FD to be the most beautiful Japanese sports car of all time. Most importantly, the styling was never an end in itself. Every line of the body was dictated by aerodynamics and weight reduction. During the development of the FD, Mazda's engineers waged a genuine war against weight. The weight-saving program was called Mission Zero and involved virtually every component of the vehicle. Aluminum was used wherever possible. The bumper supports, parts of the suspension, the hood, the spare wheel, and even the pedals were made of aluminum. The windshield was reduced in size compared to the previous generation to save weight. Each door was several kilograms lighter. As a result, the RX-7 FD weighed only around 1,240 kilograms depending on specification. This was an extraordinary figure for a car capable of exceeding 250 kilometers per hour. Low weight was a key element of Mazda's philosophy. The engineers concluded that instead of building ever more powerful engines, it was better to create a car that was light, agile, and perfectly balanced. Thanks to this approach, the RX-7 could compete with far more powerful rivals, such as the Toyota Supra and Nissan GT-R. It was the power-to-weight ratio, not outright horsepower, that became the true secret of its success. The greatest curiosity of the RX-7 FD was, of course, the 13B RE-W engine. This was a twin-rotor Wankel unit with a displacement of 2 times 654 cubic centimeters. Officially, it displaced 1,308 cubic centimeters, but in terms of performance, it was comparable to a conventional 2.6-liter engine. The design was extremely compact and lightweight. This allowed Mazda to mount it very low in the chassis and almost entirely behind the front axle. The result was a perfect 50-50 weight distribution and an exceptionally low center of gravity. Depending on the market, the engine produced between 239 and 280 horsepower. European cars offered around 239 horsepower, while later Japanese versions achieved the famous 280 horsepower figure. Its character was completely different from that of a traditional piston engine. The Wankel loved high revs, operated with remarkable smoothness, and generated virtually no vibration. Its sound resembled a jet engine more than a conventional sports coupe. It was precisely this unique character that caused so many drivers to fall in love with the RX-7 after just one drive. The Mazda RX-7 FE also made history by introducing the world's first mass-produced sequential twin turbocharging system. The 2 Hitachi turbochargers did not operate simultaneously. The first turbo became active at around 1,800 revolutions per minute, providing strong throttle response at low engine speeds. The second turbo joined in at approximately 4,000 revolutions per minute, increasing power in the upper rev range. As a result, Mazda virtually eliminated turbo lag, which plagued many sports cars of the era. The system was extraordinarily complex and consisted of dozens of vacuum lines, valves, and control units. Mechanics sometimes referred to it as a rat's nest. However, when everything functioned properly, the result was remarkable. Acceleration was smooth and uninterrupted, without sudden surges. The car felt significantly more modern than most of its early 1990s competitors. This system was proof of just how technically advanced the RX-7 FD truly was. Despite relatively modest power figures on paper, the RX-7 FD was exceptionally fast. The most powerful versions could reach 100 kilometers per hour in around 5 seconds and exceed a top speed of 250 kilometers per hour. At the time of its launch, these figures were comparable to those of the Porsche 911, Ferrari 348, and Honda NSX. Even more impressive, however, was its mid-range acceleration and steering response. Thanks to its low weight and superb weight distribution, the car felt much faster than the raw numbers suggested. Drivers often described the RX-7 as one of the most engaging cars of its era. Unlike many modern vehicles, it did not hide its behavior behind layers of electronics. It demanded concentration and respect, but rewarded the driver with an extraordinarily direct connection to the road. This is why it is still regarded today as a true driver's car for purists. The secret behind the RX-7's handling was not limited to its engine. The car featured sophisticated double wishbone suspension at both ends and extensive use of aluminum components. Mazda also equipped it with a Torsen limited slip differential. Together, these elements made the car exceptionally neutral in its behavior. Through corners, it felt predictable and gave the driver tremendous confidence. Many automotive journalists believed that the RX-7 surpassed even significantly more expensive European sports cars when it came to handling. The car reacted instantly to steering inputs without ever feeling nervous. Its lightweight front end and centrally positioned engine allowed it to change direction with incredible speed. These characteristics earned the RX-7 a reputation as one of the best-handling sports cars of the 1990s. The interior of the RX-7 FD was designed around one person, the driver. The cockpit resembled an aircraft cabin. Every switch was within easy reach, while a large tachometer occupied center stage. The seats were tight, but provided excellent lateral support. The short gear lever encouraged frequent shifting, while the compact cabin created a feeling of unity with the machine. Mazda followed a philosophy similar to that of the MX-5. The driver should feel like an integral part of the car. There were no unnecessary luxuries or electronic gadgets. The driving experience was the only thing that mattered. As a result, more than 3 decades later, the RX-7 remains an exceptionally analog machine. In an era dominated by touchscreens and digital dashboards, that character has become almost priceless. Paradoxically, despite all its strengths, the RX-7 FD was not a major commercial success. There were several reasons. The car was expensive, often costing as much as a BMW M3 or a Porsche 968. Additionally, the Wankel engine had a reputation for being demanding and thirsty. During spirited driving, fuel consumption could exceed 20 liters per 100 kilometers. Increasingly strict emissions regulations also worked against the design. Sales in Europe ended as early as 1996. In total, only about 1,200 examples were sold across the continent. In the United Kingdom, the number was approximately 210 units. Production ultimately continued until 2002. But by the end of its life cycle, the model was available only in Japan. The Mazda RX-7 FD was produced from 1992 to 2002. During that period, approximately 69,000 examples of all versions were built. By comparison, the first-generation RX-7 sold more than 47,000 units, while the second generation reached roughly 27,000 units. This means the FD was by far the rarest generation of the model. That limited production volume is one of the primary reasons behind its rising value today. Furthermore, a huge number of cars were modified by tuners, used in motorsport, or simply destroyed. Original low-mileage examples are now exceptionally rare. Particularly sought-after versions include the Type R, Bathurst R, Spirit R, and European market cars equipped with manual transmissions. Few automobiles have left such a profound mark on automotive culture as the RX-7 FD. The car became an icon in video games such as Gran Turismo, Need for Speed, and Forza Motorsport. It gained enormous popularity through the Fast and Furious franchise, where Han's distinctive Veilside RX-7 became one of the most recognizable movie cars of the 21st century. The car also appeared in anime series such as Initial D and Wangan Midnight, as well as numerous Japanese comics. Thanks to its lightweight construction and immense tuning potential, the RX-7 became a favorite among drifters. Many examples today produce more than 500 and even 1,000 horsepower. At the same time, the car has retained a special status among collectors who seek examples that remain as close to factory specification as possible. Just a decade or two ago, an RX-7 FD could be purchased for the price of a used compact car. Today, the situation is completely different. Average examples requiring restoration typically cost between €4,000 and €7,000. Well-maintained cars with documented histories often achieve prices of around €100,000. The rarest versions, such as the Spirit R, frequently exceed €200,000, while exceptional collector-grade examples can command well above that figure. In recent years, the RX-7 FD has become one of the fastest appreciating Japanese automobiles. The reason is simple. The number of available cars continues to decline, while demand from collectors around the world keeps increasing. Many experts believe the best examples will continue to rise in value. The Mazda RX-7 FD became a legend not because it was the fastest, the most powerful, or the most technologically advanced car of its time. Its uniqueness came from the harmony of all its elements. Lightweight construction, perfect balance, the extraordinary Wankel engine, the pioneering sequential twin-turbo system, and timeless styling combined to create a machine that delivered pure driving pleasure. At a time when most manufacturers were chasing horsepower figures, Mazda chose to focus on emotion. The result was a car that, more than 3 decades later, still captivates with its appearance and driving experience. The RX-7 FD is a symbol of the golden age of Japanese performance cars, the last great triumph of the Wankel engine, and proof that sometimes less truly means more. That is why today it stands alongside the Toyota Supra MK4, Nissan Skyline GT-R, and Honda NSX in the pantheon of the greatest Japanese sports cars of all time.